It takes us a while to get to the Vatican. Rome is distracting, and we deliberately arrived without an itinerary, knowing there would always be something to do. But after a few days, I feel like it can't be put off any longer, and we head up to St. Peter's, walking by the Tiber, its surface swollen and glassy in the January sun. Thinking of going to the Vatican makes me feel strangely jittery. Will I finally be struck down by the hand of God? Will Benedict be there? And if so, will I really give him the finger? And what would the Swiss Guards do if I did give him the finger? While I'm pondering this line of thought, we turn a corner and Sage says, okay, we're here. I look up and my first reaction is disappointment. It looks small. Maybe because St. Peter's Square has been inflated in my mind for so long, or because photographs taken from above make it look bigger, but the famous colonnades that people compare to embracing arms and the domes of the basilica behind them are not on the scale I expected. I was expecting the thing to be colossal, mind-blowing, ginormous. In reality, it's just big-ish. Though it's early in the morning, the square is teeming with pilgrims, tourists, priests, nuns, even an African colonel dashing along with his retinue behind him. He stops a few times to strike a pose for tourist cameras. We get into a queue to pass through the metal detectors to enter the basilica, and I remove my belt only to find my pants threatening to fall down. This might be appropriate for a sinner, bare ass before God. Inside it looks bigger than it does from the outside, but it still feels packed with people. The difference is that looking across the length of the church, the people appear to be tiny, and then it occurs to me, this church is massive. The Pieta is surrounded by so many people it's impossible to get within 40 feet of it, and it's behind glass, so it mostly looks like staccato flashes of camera light. Packs of people are crammed in front of every tomb, icon, and pillar, and there are thousands and thousands of works of art, including an elaborately tiled floor and a frescoed ceiling so dizzying it's impossible to rest my eyes on any one part of it. Another line of people emerges in front of what looks like a very old metal statue. Sage recognizes it before I do. See the feet, he says, and I look, and the saint's toes have been entirely worn off from the hands of pilgrims throughout the centuries. It's a ritual of pilgrimage, one that supposedly incurs blessings. Okay, I have to do this, I say, and I walk by and give each of Peter's feet a swipe, and then I remember that thousands of people have done the same thing today, and douse my hands with Purell. Leaving the basilica after an hour or so, we take a few minutes to sit in the square and watch the hordes in the winter sun. A young woman's doing yoga as her friend snaps photo after photo. Teenagers are talking on cell phones, babies crying, pigeons shitting on cobblestones, Swiss guards being stoic as people point at them and laugh. And that's when I realized Vatican is Disneyland for Catholics. There are Vatican gift shops and a Vatican post office and Vatican roach coaches selling hot dogs and chips. Around the corner is the entrance to Vatican City, which is surrounded by towering walls and off limits to pilgrims and tourists alike. I watch for a minute as limos go in and out through its gate. This is not where I'm going to find the true church. I come closer to the true church, sitting around with my friends, cooking eggs for homeless women, sitting in a pew back home, lying on my couch. There's too much pomp in Rome to make it even remotely close to the life Jesus led. The Vatican is admittedly beautiful and majestic, but it's not about the real hard work of belief. That's all I have to read. Like, do you guys want to talk about anything else, or? Yes, Anna.
I'm kind of interested in the radical nuns and like what's happening to them.
Oh yeah, all of my homies. Yeah. So I don't know if you all have been following the story in the news, but there's this huge. How can I do? See, I'm getting ready to start teaching again in a couple weeks, so let me allow me to inform you about this. I'm warming up for the semester. So there's two groups of religious women in the U.S. There's the LCRW, which is like the sister. They're sisters, not nuns. So they're like people who work in hospitals and social justice ministries. And then there's nuns who are cloistered and they don't leave. And so the LCRW, it's the Leadership Conference of Women Religious, so that's the sisters who are like external out in the world. And they were told that they were going to be investigated by the Vatican about 3 years ago. And so the Vatican sent over all these people and interviewed them and visited them at work and came back with this report saying you're radical feminists and you need to get back in line because you're not speaking out against abortion, you're not speaking out against gay people, and you need to get back in line. And they said, hold up, like that's our work, and we're going to meet about it. And they're meeting this week to decide what they're going to do. And one of my friends is a sister of St. Joseph, and she said they basically are coming between two things. They're going to either say, okay, we'll do it, what you're asking us to do, but we need time to figure it out, or they're going to separate from Rome. And if they do the latter, that's going to be a big deal because there are more of them. They outnumber priests by like 4 to 1. So it's a really interesting time right now for women in the Catholic Church. So those women are they're pretty amazing, like the work they do. So we're hoping that they'll start their own church or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a really, so we'll know within a few weeks probably what's going to happen. Stay tuned. Okay. Yeah.
Have you gotten any reaction from members of the church about your book?
Yeah, I did a retreat this summer with a young Jesuit, and I gave him the book, and he said it made him cry several times, and I was like, is that good? A lot of people said this book makes them cry, and I'm like, I don't like making people cry, but I guess sometimes people cry when they read books. I don't. I'm an old cynic. Yeah, I gave it to him. I gave it to my friend, a priest from my church. He really liked it a lot. He's in the book, and he goes, "Who's that guy? That sounds like a really nice guy." I guess tells really corny jokes. I have 2 Poor Clare nun friends who are in a cloister who I met when they were traveling, and they've read it and they liked it a lot. And what's really funny is that one of them is 75 and she doesn't swear, and apparently she read the book and she started swearing. But she says she does it very quietly so no one can hear her, so I think I'm corrupting them. But they're awesome. So actually the feedback's been really good. And then it's only been out for a month, but the critical stuff has mostly been from bloggers, like, of course, right? And there's a guy up in Bellingham, Washington, who thinks I worship Satan because of this book. So he's a really conservative Catholic, and he's been blogging about me, and he's made a podcast about me, and apparently, he was going to come to an event I was going to do there, and then my flight got canceled, so.
Divine intervention.
I think it was divine intervention because I don't want to meet him ever. So the church people really like this book, and the super conservative blogger people don't, but they hate everything except Chick-fil-A and Rick's. Yeah. So anyway. Yeah.
You mentioned it, but it seems more and more obvious with more and more polling that there's a pretty big disconnect between the hierarchy, the Catholic Church, and the pendulum going back to conservative priests, and then what kind of the average or mean of what American Catholic is.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I grew up Catholic, and to me it's not Irish, but it's an ethnic religion. It's just being Catholic is as much about being a part of my family as it is about listening to a priest. As opposed to universalizing religion. So it is always going to be in me, and it's just there.
Yeah.
But the one thing that would keep me from going back and having me consider myself being a member of a church or a parish is the idea of somehow I'm at a church and that shows that I'm somehow supporting a priest in this this awful hierarchy that is totally non-responsive. And I'm just wondering, do you feel that what's a tool or a way that either you've coped or you think that there's a coming way that we can kind of deal with bringing back the church to the act, like actually being a church for the people, not for like old white men, or not even old white men, just conservative white men or conservative men who have kind of a lot of power and a lot of sway in public opinion, and maybe like some of the least qualified people to talk about things that are going on in the world.
Vaginas.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking for some advice in terms of like how you kind of, you know.
I hear you. I think you're exactly where I was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I would say that ask around, go shopping, right? Because there are some awesome Catholic churches in San Francisco and the East Bay, and the priests will be the first ones to tell you, I don't give a shit what Rome says. Like, this is a church for you and me, and like, this is for the people, right? And I don't think I hear anybody talk more smack about the Vatican than priests. Seriously. Like, and bishops, they're not friends with the bishops. So I would say look into like the Jesuits. They're awesome. They're very supportive of people on the margins, right? The Paulists, they have a church over here. Don't go to the Dominicans. They're really conservative. Salesians are not good. But like those two, Franciscans are awesome. So like, just look around and then think about like, don't give your money, right? Like I don't tithe at church. I give my money directly to the shelter where I volunteer, and I give it to Planned Parenthood, you know? So I don't put money in the basket because it's gonna go up.
Right.
You see what I mean? And so I think it sounds kind of stupid because what is it, $10, $5? But I think that's the kind of thing that makes a difference in making you feel like I'm not participating in this. You see what I mean? And if you find a church that's like-minded to what you're talking about, and you will find it, and if you want, you can email me and I'll send you a list, then you will meet other people like you who are like culturally Catholic, really identify with it, but aren't really like want to get on the boat. You see what I mean? Because I hope you can find that, because it does make you feel like, for me it was like putting these two pieces back together again of who I am. So, and they don't always fit that well, but at least they're close. So yeah, drop me a line, Susan. Okay, thank you all so much, and have a great night. Thank you, Chris.